I went to pick up my wedding dress and ran into the new nurse, Lauren, also trying on a wedding dress. The man kneeling on one knee to put on her shoes for her was Connor, whom I've been in love with for 7 years. He stood up, turned around, and our eyes met. There wasn't a trace of panic on his face. Instead, Lauren smiled and asked me, Dr. Anna, would you like to be my bridesmaid? I shook my head. I can't. I'm in mourning. My fiancé just died. His body isn't even cold yet. I pushed open the door and at a glance, I saw the beaming Lauren, wearing a voluminous wedding dress with a brilliant smile. Her hand rested on the shoulder of the man kneeling before her as she looked down at him carefully putting on her shoes. Even with his back to me, I could recognize that it was my boyfriend of 7 years, Connor. The pink plaid shirt he was wearing was the one I took out of the closet and gave to him this morning. A few hours ago, I asked him if he had time, and he hurriedly pressed his cheek against mine, his tone full of apology. Anna, can I accompany you another day? A last-minute surgery just got scheduled. As a doctor myself, I understood his difficulties and didn't say anything, just urged him to hurry to the hospital. Looking at it now, what was squeezed in between us wasn't a surgery. But Lauren, who has faint dimples when she smiles, she obviously saw me, the corner of her lips curling up, her expression full of smugness. No one at the hospital knew about my relationship with Connor. A little over half a month ago, Lauren accidentally saw a photo of us together in my album. During a break, she came over to chat with me. I was wondering what kind of man could be worthy of Dr. Anna. No wonder. She also said, if any man could be half as good to me as Dr. Connor is to you, I'd die of happiness. I casually changed the subject at the time, but my heart was full of suspicion, not understanding where she could tell he was good to me from. Not 2 days later, a joke from a nurse in the department made me vaguely sense something. The newcomer Lauren calls everyone bro, but she only calls Connor brother. You all should savor this one-word difference. It's my fault for not digging deeper, which led to today's awkward situation. Alright, let me see. Connor clapped his hands, stood up, and turned sideways. Our eyes met. He froze for a moment, pressing his thin lips tightly together. His expression was calm, as if he had long expected a day like this to come. Lauren glanced at him, her smile unwavering, and reached out to take his arm. What a coincidence. Dr. Anna. Coincidence. I remember she asked me not long ago when I planned to get married. She even recommended this bridal shop. It was because I saw the ring box in Connor's jacket pocket that I secretly ordered a wedding dress, wanting to give him a surprise and tell him that I was ready just like him. So it turns out, the one he wants to marry isn't me. My heart hurt as if 10,000 needles were suddenly stabbing it all at once. I had to dig into my palm until it broke skin to stop myself from crying on the spot. Lauren suddenly asked me with a smile, Dr. Anna, do you want to be my bridesmaid? Before she could finish her sentence, Connor also looked at me, his brows slightly furrowed. Before I could speak, he said faintly, Dr. Anna is so busy. How would she have time? Stop joking. The hint of complaint in his tone made my heart clench again. From medical school to the hospital, in 7 years, we both became increasingly busy. Dates that ordinary couples have were always replaced by surgeries and emergencies. Half a year ago when I got promoted, Connor seemed to be holding in his anger, becoming even busier than before, not missing a beat with writing papers and performing high-difficulty surgeries. Back in medical school, we were the fiercest rivals. I knew he didn't want to lose. The last time his parents called to urge us to get married, he also said he was too busy to find the time. So when I saw the ring box in his suit jacket, I thought he had made his own secret plans and was moved for a long time. I had picked out a wedding dress myself, planning to give him a surprise on our 7th anniversary. Seeing that I hadn't spoken for a while, Lauren asked me again, Dr. Anna. I glanced at her. Dr. Anna. It's settled then. Okay, you'll be my bridesmaid. Just take it as soaking up some good luck. I shook my head. I can't. I'm in mourning. Connor watched me with a twisted corner of his mouth. He of course knew my parents were alive and well. I sneered. My fiancé just died. His bodice not even cold yet. Connor's face fell, his lips tightly pursed. The store clerk came out cheerfully carrying my wedding dress. But after hearing that sentence, she was completely stunned and froze on the spot. This was probably the biggest crisis she had encountered in her entire career. The clerk looked at me hesitantly. "Wanna try it on?" I shook my head, my peripheral vision catching Connor also staring at the ball of gauze exposed in the bag. I remembered the year we graduated from medical school together. He pointed at a wedding dress in a shop window and asked me when I would marry him. "Tomorrow," I said with a smile, teasing him. The light that instantly lit up his eyes was like the myriad stars illuminating the deep night. But it quickly dimmed again. "Anna, I don't want to wrong you. I want to give you everything that others have." His parents had successively been diagnosed with cancer, and the treatment costs had long since plunged the family into debt. The burden on his shoulders was heavy. That was not a suitable time to be discussing marriage. Later, when we went to a hospital for an interview together, the chief physician casually asked him, "Young man, do you have a girlfriend?" He answered quickly, "No, I'm still single." Standing next to him, I was instantly stunned, but he explained it to me afterwards. Director Zhao is keen on training new doctors. I just didn't want him to worry that I wouldn't be focused enough on work because of a relationship. Although I felt a bit upset, I didn't say anything more. He had his considerations and concerns, and I wanted to try to be more understanding. Perhaps there was a reason for not making it public at the beginning, but later it seemed like there was no need to. Every time I brought it up, he would always smile and kiss my forehead. "Just send them an invitation when we get married. If we go public now, a bunch of people will start prying." He's the type who hates trouble, so I could only comfort myself by thinking he just didn't want his private life to get too much attention. He used to blow dry my hair, eat fast food with me, and had always find a moment to tell me whenever we parted at the intersection, "Just a little longer, and I'll marry you." Ever since he suddenly took back the salary card had always let me keep. Over half a month ago, he never said it again. Now I know why he said he had something big to take care of. A major life event. My fiancé is going to marry someone else, and I wasn't even deemed necessary to be informed. I came out carrying the wedding dress, looked back when I reached the crossroad. But Connor didn't chase after me. My chat with him was last updated many days ago. I asked him what time he'd be back, and he replied with 2 words, "Busy." I clicked into it, and there was a solid line on his Moments feed. He had blocked me at some point. I called to cancel the restaurant reservation, threw the wedding dress in the car, and rushed back to work. The department head was a bit surprised to see me. "You pulled several all-nighters to apply for a day off, and you're canceling it after just half a day." Or maybe he saw I looked unwell and asked if something had happened. Explaining that I was cheated on during a secret relationship was too much trouble, so I could only say I didn't sleep well. He then excitedly pulled me aside. "Then, let's enjoy the gossip. The more you don't want to hear someone's name, the more it comes up," the director said mysteriously. Connor got together with a little nurse from their department. They were caught several times, staying in the office for half the day. The little nurse even came out fixing her clothes. "They're really bold." He looked me up and down, with an expression of being disappointed in me. "I was even saying I wanted to set you two up. Classmates and colleagues. You know each other so well." Connor is so foolish. I couldn't manage a smile. "I guess we're just not compatible." Huh. The director added that Lauren said she wanted to marry a doctor as soon as she joined the hospital. Some people in the hospital even made a list to see which unlucky bastard would be taken down. "You have no idea how hard it is to get into our hospital, do you? She got in right after graduation. I heard it's because she has a good daddy." This reminded me of how those few nurses in the department would also tease whenever she was mentioned. "We've never heard of her working a night shift." Having a shareholder for a backer is really something else. I suppose Connor must have heard these words too. When I got home from work, all of his things in the room had been moved out. On the table was a key, with a note pressed under it. The handwriting, from the one who had copied notes for me and written me love letters, was still neat. "Deep affection can't withstand time. Let's just say I've wronged you. 7 years." Brushed aside with a single stroke. From a long list of missed calls, I randomly called one back, and the other side picked up quickly. "That overseas exchange study program you mentioned last time. I want to go." The person on the other end said good several times. I didn't make another sound and just hung up. I think Connor's recent proactive behavior and his hurry to marry Lauren are most likely for this matter. A few months ago, There were rumors that the hospital was going to collaborate with a high-end overseas research institute and send one person over for an exchange program. Not to mention their status would double upon return. The vacant vice director position is also being saved for this. Looking down again at Lauren's official announcement post on her moments, my mood improved a lot. Just perfect to describe today. The accompanying picture was of two tightly clasped hands. I recognized the one with the well-defined knuckles. A few days later, I saw a bag of wedding candy right after I got out of surgery. Lauren seemed to have been waiting for me for a long time. She eagerly came up to me, smiling smugly. "Dr. Anna, I came to give you this wedding candy myself. You can't refuse it now, can you?" I took off my white coat and glanced at her. "There's no one else here. What's with the act? Are we that close?" Her smile froze on her face, and her eyes turned cold. "The one who isn't loved is the redundant one. Dr. Anna, I really pity you." He never once admitted to your relationship. But the moment I mentioned it, he made it official. You can't possibly fail to see the difference between being loved and not, can you? I pulled out a chair, sat down, and smiled. What's there to regret about someone who can be stolen so easily? As for love, that's your own business. I wish you two to be locked together for life. Her face paled. Before getting married. Of course, he can choose someone more suitable for him. Since you were dumped, you should think more about how you're not as good as others. My smile deepened unconsciously. Thanks for the advice. I won't be going to the wedding. You and I aren't close, so I'll save the gift money. Raising a hand to signal for her to leave, instead of giving her a slap. I think I have pretty good self-control. I guess they were eager to announce their relationship. Everyone in the hospital received invitations and wedding candy. Otherwise, my phone wouldn't have been ringing off the hook. Someone was indignant on my behalf, so an extra notice appeared on the hospital's bulletin board in the afternoon. The candidate selected by the hospital for the overseas exchange program has been decided. My photo was posted right there. It was one that Connor had taken for me before. Unable to refuse the director's enthusiasm, our entire department went to a nearby restaurant to celebrate. After a few drinks, my colleague's mouth got loose. You should have seen how devastated Connor looked. He stood in front of the announcement and stared for half an hour. Bet he's crushed, right? Long live the cardiology department. Dr. Anna, I told you you could do it. The director, who never touches a drop of alcohol, was already wasted. I told you to fight for it, but you wouldn't listen. In a private hospital like ours, you have to fight. Those few surgeries you did before were flawlessly beautiful. The hospital leadership isn't blind. Someone was already raising a glass, wishing me an early promotion to vice president of the hospital. Someone behind me snorted coldly. Isn't it a bit early to celebrate? I turned around. It was Lauren with her arm linked through Connor's, with people from their department behind them. Connor's expression was normal. He casually picked up an empty glass and filled it with alcohol. When are you leaving? Will you have time to come to the wedding banquet first? The mockery in his words was deafening. So I just turned around. Haven't decided yet, but I don't have time to go. There's a lot to do. But he didn't leave. Instead, bending down, his voice so low it was almost a whisper. Anna, I never thought you'd be the one to backstab me. After saying that, he immediately stood up with a beaming smile. He is indeed capable. The people from his department successively sat down in the private room next to us. And when the door closed, Lauren shot me a vicious glare. Of course I knew how annoyed Connor was. I was never among the competitors for this training program. The ones he saw as formidable rivals were the other candidates. I wouldn't have competed with him. After dinner, we were dragged to sing karaoke. It was a rare chance for everyone to relax, and they all wanted to have a good time. By the time I got home, it was already the wee hours of the morning, and the hallway light turned on. Connor was squatting dejectedly at the door, his eyes full of exhaustion as he looked up at me. Anna, can you just give up, please? I walked over with a cold face. Move. But as I opened the door, he grabbed my hand, his tone filled with sorrow. Can we talk? The frustration that had been building up all day finally erupted at this moment. I leaned against the wall and looked at him. Connor, you ended our 7-year relationship with a single note. What is there for us to talk about now? He paused for a moment. His head hung low. Anna, I'm sorry, but I really don't want to miss this opportunity. Are you rushing to marry her because you heard she's the shareholder's daughter? The early bird gets the worm. So this training opportunity is a sure thing, right? He frowned, a hint of embarrassment crossing his face. Well, not entirely. He said that at first he only felt that he should take more care of the newcomer. But unexpectedly, he gradually lost his sense of proportion. She's different from you, Anna. I'm very relaxed in front of her. She always looks at me with a face full of adoration. And you, the longer we are together, the more I feel that I'm not good enough for you. I'm exhaustively chasing after you, but you can easily surpass me. I was speechless. I never thought that we had long been strangers and that his resentment towards me was rooted here. I have to take a deep breath to keep myself from trembling. Connor, whether it's about work or relationships, I always do my best to achieve the ultimate. I always thought we were the same, but I never thought this is what you think. I even think it would be more honest if he admitted he got together with Lauren for her status. But I never expected this would be the result. One day, my hard work would become my original sin. He sighed and looked at me fixedly. In the end, I'm the one who is not good enough for you. It's my problem. After a moment of silence, he leaned closer to me again, his voice full of pleading. Can you go to the department tomorrow and voluntarily give up your spot? Only if you give it up can I be sure. You've said before that you would voluntarily withdraw. Remember, back then you said with a smile that if it were you, you would definitely give it up. I snorted coldly. You also said that was in the past. I loved you in the past. But now, are you worthy? He wouldn't give up and tried to follow me into the house. But I directly raised my hand. Do you need me to call Lauren to come and pick you up? He stood motionless on the spot, looking at me with a gloomy face. Anna, do you really have to stab me at a time like this? His face changed so quickly. I almost thought I was watching a Sichuan face-changing performance. I composed myself and slowly opened my mouth. Connor, Lauren knows about our relationship. She has seen the photos of us in my album. Since you are already getting married, let's not mention our past. And please don't come looking for me again. His hands hanging at his sides clenched into fists, then slowly relaxed, and he turned and left with a tense face. After that, I was busy preparing to go abroad and had no time to indulge in sadness. Occasionally when I ran into Connor at the hospital, we would both coldly pretend not to see each other. My colleagues often complained, "You two were classmates. How can he be so petty?" Even if it wasn't you, it wouldn't necessarily have been his turn. I just smiled and didn't say much. Lauren was even more high-profile than before, praising Connor to the skies to everyone she met, and never forgetting to show off her ring at the end. I ran into her a few times in the cafeteria. She would walk past me arrogantly, deliberately bumping my shoulder. I even found such childish tricks laughable. I thought I could smoothly make it until I went abroad, which would also count as completely ending this draining relationship. But as luck would have it, the department's research project proposal came up on the schedule, so I had no choice but to prepare the materials to deal with the matter at hand. A week later, the candidates for the project proposal were announced, and both Connor's name and mine were on the list. On the day the list came out, the director had a dinner meeting with a pharma rep, and he dragged me along after much persuasion. Once I entered the private room, I deeply regretted not asking for details beforehand. The dean was there, and so was Connor. The pharma rep had already had quite a bit to drink, and immediately raised his glass when he saw me come in. I hear Dr. Anna is going abroad soon, so I must give you this toast. When you come back, you'll be the nation's top golden-handed cardiologist. Connor's expression looked grim. He was clutching his glass so tightly his veins were showing. I was just about to take the glass when the dean intercepted from the side. She can't really drink. One glass is her limit. I'll take this one for her. I was stunned, unable to stop him even if I wanted to. So I had to just sit down in silence. Throughout the meal, they chatted away while I just picked at my food and drank juice, feeling like I was on pins and needles. Midway, the pharma rep went to the restroom. Just as the door closed, Connor, who had been silent the entire time, suddenly stood up. He brought his glass over to toast the dean, shooting a meaningful glance in my direction. Taking this opportunity, "There's something I'm not sure if I should say or not." The dean looked at him and put down his glass. "Work matters." Connor paused for a moment. "That's not entirely it. After all, Dr. He and I were classmates for many years." After thinking it over, It's better for me to bring this up than someone else. At this, even the director, who had been joking, stopped smiling and looked at him. Connor said, Dr.He's surgeries are beautifully done, but her research is still a bit lacking. A few sets of experimental data were handled very sloppily. It's fine to look at them in private, but if they were to be submitted and publicly announced as a project, any discerning person could tell at a glance. I stared at him in a daze. The certainty in his eyes made me feel like I was looking at a complete stranger. The dean and the director both looked at me, their faces full of confusion. Connor never made eye contact with me the whole time. How about we cancel Dr.He's project from the evaluation? Anyway, she's going abroad for training and study, so it's better for her to focus her energy on one thing. His eagerness to bring it up actually made me realize, how is this for my own good? If the project evaluation falls through and my research is flawed, how could I still have the nerve to go abroad for training? Killing two birds with one stone. No wonder Connor decided to burn his bridges. I stood up. Dr. Connor's reminder is really timely. I almost forgot, fearing it wasn't rigorous enough. I ran the data experiments a few more times later on. It's a perfect time to present the latest version. And I'd also like to hear everyone's opinion. Connor followed me all the way to the parking lot. He grabbed my arm and, with a grim face, pinned me against the car door. I was so angry I lifted my foot to kick him, but he didn't budge, a furious gloom swirling in his eyes. You were holding out on me. I did indeed run several more experiments after the submission. That's a habit I developed in medical school. The data isn't constant, as it's affected by different conditions. I just didn't expect it to come in handy. I looked at him. I told you about the experiment's progress, and I even showed you all the data without reservation. You knew there were discrepancies, but never pointed them out. Connor, which one of us is more despicable? He dejectedly let go of his hands, but then suddenly reached out to brace himself on the car roof, taking several deep breaths. Anna, I know you hate me. You resent me. I can understand all of that. But can you not use my future to throw a tantrum at me? He turned his head to look at me, his eyes filled with sorrow. Do you think it wasn't hard for me to give up on our relationship of so many years? But I can't give up this opportunity. I suddenly remembered what he used to say to me when we were students. He said he cherished every opportunity that came his way because he was afraid there wouldn't be a next time. He lost his composure and pounded on the car roof several times, finally having a complete meltdown. What the hell do you want from me? Leaning in for a sudden kiss caught me off guard, and without thinking, I raised my hand and slapped him. Connor. But he just slumped his shoulders, looking as dejected as a drenched dog. Do you have to make me beg you? Anna, if I call off the wedding right now and we get back together, would you be willing to drop it? I had never seen such a defeated Connor before. He was so unfamiliar it sent a chill down my spine. I'm not willing. I told him, word by word, not willing to get back together, and not willing to give up either. He sighed heavily, stood up straight and stared at me, his eyes all red. Lately I've often thought about our time back in medical school. You would wait for me no matter how late it was, putting your own experiments on hold to accommodate me. Everyone said we were a match made in heaven. Even my parents say you're good. They've long seen you as their daughter-in-law. Me and her. My parents still can't accept it to this day. They've been angry with me, asking me why I had to do this. He gave a bitter laugh. It's not like I don't want to make a name for myself, but reality is just this cruel. It's useless no matter how hard I try. I don't even get as many opportunities as you. He brought up when we started at the hospital. He went to a highly sought-after department, thinking he could achieve something great. But those few surgeries you performed were truly impeccable. Even I felt ashamed of my own skills after watching. I was always thinking about when I could have my moment to shine, to make you also think I'm terrifyingly good. But I always lacked the opportunity. It's not like I haven't thought about the past, either. He was very hard up when he was a student. Yet he never forgot to give me gifts during festivals. Even when his meal card was almost empty, he would still take me out for a late-night snack. Looking at the him before me now, I could only sigh with deep emotion. Connor, I've never been your opponent. All I ever wanted was your love. But now you have nothing left to give me. The public notice for the project application ultimately made it through the 3 days without a hitch. Immediately after, an institute-wide seminar was held, where the dean's remarks were clearly pointed. Some of our doctors are eager for quick success and benefits. They haven't even figured out their own affairs and are busy fighting with colleagues. The hospital is not a place for bloody battles. There's not so much deceit and trickery. He didn't look at Connor, but out of the corner of my eye, I also glimpsed the person sitting in front of me with their head lowered. The director nudged his chin at me from the side, communicating with his lips. He's really hit his steel plate this time. After finishing the project proposal, my plan to go abroad was also on the agenda. I applied for a few days of annual leave, planning to take a good rest. This day I really couldn't refuse, so I had to agree to my dad coming to my place for dinner. I originally planned to order takeout, but when he arrived, he was carrying big and small bags, looking exceptionally excited. I could only clear out the kit Connor for him to show off his skills, watching him wash and chop, saying he wanted to have a hot pot meal with me. Just as I put the pot on the dining room table, there was a noise outside the door. My dad didn't even raise his head, busy slicing meat. It's probably the seafood I ordered. Daughter, go open the door. I could only brace myself and walk over to open the door. Outside the door stood Connor and his parents. Upon seeing me, his parents beamed with smiles and walked straight in. Little He, we came here to see a doctor. No other intention. Just dropped by to see you since we were in the neighborhood. I was in a dilemma, not knowing whether to block them or let them in. And just then my dad walked out of the kit Connor. Connor froze on the spot. Director, this was the most awkward hot pot I've ever had. Connor's parents were sitting up straight and proper. Ever since they found out the director was my dad, they were just like parents meeting a teacher. They asked me with flustered and smiles, how come we never heard you mention it? If you had told us earlier, we could have come to visit. I smiled a little, not really wanting to explain too much. My dad, on the other hand, was worldly wise and could handle any kind of conversation. I'm partly responsible for her mother's passing, so the kid has always resented me a bit. She usually doesn't like to acknowledge me. This time, it took a lot of persuading to get her to agree to have dinner together. Back then, there were some problems with my mom's surgery. She developed a severe infection during post-operative care, and my dad was busy getting entangled with a woman on the outside. Although he was filled with remorse after he got older and cut ties completely with all those flings, I could never get over the hurdle in my heart. I had never mentioned these things to anyone. Connor had obviously misunderstood. He had worn a cold expression since walking in, but now he suddenly spoke up. Anna was probably trying to avoid suspicion. Right. If people found out, it would be a huge deal. I glanced at him, and my dad chuckled and chimed in again. My girl takes after me on this point. She's very stubborn and relies on herself for everything. I was even wondering when I first saw her resume. She was dead set against coming here at the time. Connor curled his lip, his brows knitted tightly. I had refused at first, but he insisted on helping me submit my resume. He said that when doctors get busy, they don't have time for dates, and if we went to the same hospital, we would at least be seeing each other all the time. Probably regretting it so much their guts have turned green by now. Connor's parents said. The two kids are classmates and perhaps they wanted to talk about our past relationship, but it could only come to an abrupt end. So they changed the topic. They're also colleagues, so we'll have to trouble you to look after him more in the future. My dad laughed. Little Dr. Connor is getting married soon. Right. I heard he found a nurse. I kind of admired him for bringing up the one topic that shouldn't be mentioned. My dad patted my hand that was on the table. My daughter is going abroad soon. I'm afraid she won't be able to attend this wedding feast, but I could be the wedding witness. Connor's face was pale, but he still smiled and raised his glass of wine. Then thank you in advance, Director. I was just worrying about how to bring this up with you. The meal turned into a hongmen banquet, and when it was finally time to clear the dishes, Connor rolled up his sleeves and suddenly said, "I'll do it." He picked them up with practiced ease and went into the kit Connor. His parents looked at each other and could only sit up straight and drink tea with my dad again. I pushed the door open and went in. Connor was staring blankly at the sink full of bowls and chopsticks. When he saw me, he came back to his senses. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" I leaned against the cabinet. "There's nothing to say." He pursed his lips and looked at me. "If you had told me earlier, maybe we wouldn't have reached this point." I laughed scornfully. "Connor, are you telling me now that if my dad were the director, you wouldn't have fallen for someone else? Or are you saying you regret missing this opportunity?" He was silent for a moment. I know you look down on me now. Go on. What's the matter that you suddenly came running here? I asked him. Don't tell me you want your parents to come and be persuaders, to convince me to give up the opportunity to train abroad. A trace of embarrassment crossed his face. No, they really came to see a doctor, and felt they should still come and see you. After all, this matter. I wronged you, and I wanted to see you too. I laughed. See me for what? To see if he'll still take you back. If he'll suddenly have a soft heart. He was silent for a moment. His hands braced on the sink. Anna, do you know what I hate most about you? Your aggressiveness. He seemed to give a bitter laugh. But that was precisely the thing I loved about you back then. That you were braver than me. I was speechless. When in love, it's being brave. When out of love, it's being aggressive. I had asked him before how he came to like me. He thought for a moment and answered me. Seeing you argue your case with the teacher. I also wanted to be brave for once. To fight for myself. I was an act of courage in his life of forbearance. 7 years later, he still chose to leave without so much as a blink. He turned on the faucet, rolled up his sleeves to wash the dishes and chopsticks. His movements slow. He washed and drained them one by one, and put them in the cabinet. While wiping the counter, his hand paused, and a teardrop fell with a pat. It splashed on the surface, and he stared at it in a daze as another drop fell. He slowly began to speak, his voice thick with a choked sob. I remember back then, I couldn't even bear to let you do things like washing dishes or vegetables. Those hands of yours shouldn't be tainted by these things. Before, I really thought I could protect you for the rest of your life. I straightened up and slid open the Kit Connor's sliding door. I looked back at him one last time. Connor, maybe we should have broken up the moment we left medical school. Everything after that was just because you hadn't found a better opportunity yet. The vast sky is for birds to fly free. So I wish you happiness. When his parents were being seen out, they were bowing and scraping, showering my dad with compliments, not noticing Connor's reddened eyes and lowered head. Closing the door, I took a deep breath. Are you really going to be the wedding witness? My dad nodded seriously. Don't stop me. A week later, I had already attended the welcome dinner at the Research Institute overseas, because of the time difference. When my dad video called me, it was broad daylight over there. It was a lively wedding scene, bustling with guests. My dad held up his phone and showed me a panoramic view of the interior. An arched flower gate, a huge heart-shaped flower basket stood next to the couple's wedding photo. The camera flashed by, and I thought I saw a smiling Lauren. I'm hanging up. I'm getting ready to rest. But just then, a voice spoke, and Connor appeared awkwardly in the frame. He had come to ask my dad to sit in the front row. With a glance, we ended up looking at each other awkwardly like that. He froze, his smile a bit wistful. Anna, is everything going well? I smiled. Pretty good. He stared at me fixedly, with the roar of voices behind him. Before he left, he actually came to see me once. Through the door, he carefully asked if he could see me off. There's no need, Connor. Our two lines have long been parallel. There's no need for them to intersect again. It was just a memory from a few days ago. But seeing him now felt like we were separated by 1,000 mountains. My dad patted his shoulder and said not to just stand there. It was almost time. Connor nodded and walked away. His shoulders slumped, his steps heavy. But my dad didn't hang up the video call, just chuckled and said he was bored and wanted me to talk with him. I couldn't refuse. So I had to put the phone on the table and went to wash some fruit on my own. Soon, the wedding march began to play. A new couple was about to be born into this world. I came over with the fruit bowl, eating while being unwillingly forced to watch the ceremony. My dad went on stage. The camera could only capture his chin. He said a bunch of pleasantries, then suddenly changed the subject. This young lady, Lauren, didn't pass the assessment when she first came to the hospital, but her godfather is a nominal shareholder in our hospital. After a lot of begging and pleading, she was finally allowed to stay at the hospital. Biological father and godfather. A one-character difference. How clever. The peach I was halfway through eating stopped in midair. My dad said with a chuckle. I didn't dare to put her in any important position, so I could only arrange for her to be a nurse. And I specifically stressed that she shouldn't come into contact with patients, medicine, or needles. Her sugar daddy really dotes on her. He specially told me to just treat it as if the hospital was supporting an idle person. I suddenly really wanted to see Connor's face. There used to be a rumor in the hospital that a nominal shareholder wasn't very proper and liked to keep young girls. Everyone just treated it as a joke. And when they occasionally ran into this person at the hospital, they wouldn't call him out on it, still maintaining a respectful appearance on the surface. But my dad, on stage, got more and more into what he was saying. This young lady is quite capable, picking our hospital's youngest surgeon. From now on, this worried heart of mine can finally be at ease. Here, I wish the newlyweds a happy marriage and to be forever united in heart. He was just short of directly having HR tell Lauren at the wedding that she was going to be laid off with N1 compensation. After my dad finished speaking, he walked off the stage, his steps light, his face flushed red from holding back laughter. I heard him muttering as he walked, "Daring to bully my daughter. What audacious nerve." Suddenly, I kind of wanted to laugh, and my eyes felt a little hot. He adjusted the phone's camera, and I saw the MC on stage had already urged them several times. "Will the newlyweds please come on stage?" But Connor clenched his fists, his face ashen, not moving at all. Lauren, at his side, had tears welling in her eyes, grabbing his arm and shaking it nonstop. But she couldn't move him one bit. Connor's parents also came forward with embarrassed looks on their faces, seemingly trying to persuade him earnestly. After a long while, he looked up and pursed his lips. I'm very familiar with this look of his. Every time he can't hold back his tears, he'll raise his head to forcefully hold them back, as if he had burned his bridges. He grabbed Lauren's hand and walked onto the stage. His steps were hurried, completely ignoring Lauren stumbling as she was tripped by the huge skirt train. Amidst the music, the two of them walked onto the stage, one with a gloomy face, the other with eyes full of panic. "This is the most interesting wedding I've ever seen." The MC cleared his throat with a couple of dry coughs, put on a professional smile, and asked Connor, "Mr. Groom, are you a little nervous? Otherwise, how about we let the bride show some affection? Act a little cute for us on the spot." Lauren, holding her skirt, gave an awkward smile and was just about to rest her head on Connor's chest when he pushed her away with disgust. Staggering, she hurriedly took 2 steps back, and was ultimately tripped by her dress, falling to the ground. Her long-suppressed emotions finally erupted, and Lauren suddenly burst into loud wails. "Connor, you are not allowed to regret this. We've already received our marriage certificate." Connor gave her a cold glance and suddenly laughed out loud. "Perfect. Then this is our divorce ceremony right now." Lauren's face instantly turned deathly pale. Her sobs were choked back, and she looked at him in disbelief. Connor's gaze seemed to turn in my dad's direction. "I regret it." A breeze brushed past the corner of his eye, and he smiled until tears welled up. The scene later became a complete mess. Lauren's mother rushed onto the stage, grabbing Connor's collar and scratching his face. The sounds of crying, yelling, and cursing, accompanied by the wedding march, was quite comical. Many guests enthusiastically took out their phones and started recording videos. The MC had probably never encountered a scene like this before. He awkwardly tried to speak to smooth things over, but eventually gave up. Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning and a roar of thunder, and a torrential rain began to pour down. The audience below scattered instantly, while on the stage, the fight was still going on heatedly. "No, this rain is too heavy." My dad hurriedly hung up the video call. I stared at the dark screen, stunned for a few seconds, then suddenly couldn't help but laugh out loud. After that, I didn't hear any news about the two of them for a long time. Work at the research institute was very busy. I was spinning like a top every day, and often felt like I was back in my medical school years. More than half a year later, the director cheerfully called to check in on me. After making small talk for a while, he ultimately couldn't resist his gossipy nature. "You still remember Connor, right? That classmate of yours." I hummed in acknowledgement and casually turned off the music playing on my screen. Lauren was laid off. It seems to have happened not long after that wedding. But their divorce lawsuit was a big fuss for quite a while, and was only completely resolved recently. The director said with a sigh, "Connor is pretty much done for." To get the divorce, he resorted to all kinds of tactics, secretly filming and stalking. And it wasn't easy before he finally caught Lauren and that old man's nasty business. But his career is also over. I guess he couldn't focus. Misdiagnosed a patient. and the patient's family protested with banners at the hospital entrance for over half a month. This morning I saw him packing his things, looking all dejected. He also has to pay for the patient's medical expenses, and that's no small sum of money. I sighed a little, putting aside the unpleasantness between us. He should have had a bright future. I suddenly remembered a strange text message I received on my phone a few months ago. If we get lost in this world, does it mean we'll never meet again? I didn't reply and deleted it directly. After the 2-year exchange study program ended, I went home first after the plane landed. The doorway was piled with boxes of all sizes, and I casually tore one open. It's a shattered jigsaw puzzle, vaguely looking like a photo of me and Connor. Attached was a small card that said, "My love, happy birthday." Come to think of it, all those packages were sent by him. They were gifts for all the big and small holidays over the years. I can no longer remember since when he didn't have time to prepare these things for me. It seems like after that interview at the hospital, he was subtly trying to water down our relationship. The one on the very top showed a date from a few days ago. A huge box. I opened it, and inside was a wedding dress. Looking closely, I recognized it as the one I had thrown into the trash can. There was a line of text written on the attached card. "I'm not as resolute as you think, and now I'm not as brave as I thought." I don't know what kind of mood he was in when he went and picked that wedding dress back up. At that time, he was preparing for his wedding with Lauren. Being so fickle like this made it even more like a fishbone in my throat. After all, I wasn't worthy. After all, I was the one who loved the wrong person. I found a door-to-door junk collector and had him haul everything away. "You don't want any of this. I see you haven't even unwrapped these." He was both surprised and delighted, sizing up the pile of boxes. I shook my head. "I don't want them anymore." To him, they're a regret. But to me, they're just trash. "Well then, for this trash of yours, if you have more in the future, give me a call anytime." After I returned to work at the hospital, I still heard news about Connor. My colleagues said they saw him looking for a job everywhere, but all the hospitals share information, so no one dares to hire him. He even asked about you last time. I told him you came back a while ago and are doing really well now. I smiled and silently closed my phone. I need to get a new number. There's just way too much spam on this one. A few seconds ago, Connor's message was sitting in the spam folder. Some things have to disappear to prove her preciousness. I pictured him, sweating profusely after being rejected with his resume, dejectedly typing out this line, and suddenly burst out laughing. A few years later, I saw Lauren at a crossroad while holding a Togo sandwich. She had a pregnant belly, carrying big and small bags in her hands, hurriedly chasing after the man in front of her. That sloppy man looked even older than my dad, picking his teeth as he walked, impatiently turning back to urge her on. As she passed by me, she glanced at me quickly, then immediately averted her eyes. A car sped past, brushing against her, and I casually pulled her back. She looked at me, still shaken, lowered her head and murmured, Thanks, Dr. Anna." The man had already started cursing. "Fucking blind. Why didn't it hit and kill you and the bastard child together?" She lowered her head miserably and quickly chased after him. I looked at the bags scattered on the ground. All kinds of discounted, near-expiry meal boxes strewn about, just like their current situation. A gentle breeze blew by. The scent of pear blossoms floated in the air. So refreshing. The clouds in the sky drifted and scattered apart. Time can't be turned back.